How to Save the World and Other Things on My To-Do List. One Woman's Totally Serious Guide to Inner World Domination by Lizzie Allan, Creator of Hilarapy. Chapter 6. The World You Live In. There's a world you're living in, and it's not quite the one you think. It's not just your circumstances, not just what's happening out there. You are living inside the vibrational reality of your own thinking, inside the atmosphere your mind has been quietly creating day after day for most of your life. If your mind were weather, what would it look like right now? Would it be stormy, everything feeling urgent, unstable, like the ground is always slightly shifting under your feet? Would it be grey and flat, heavy, low, a kind of persistent drizzle where nothing feels quite possible? Or would it be open, spacious and light, the kind of day where things feel like they can actually move and happen and arrive? This isn't random. This is the emotional tone of your thinking, the atmosphere you've been practicing. And here's the part that matters. You don't just visit the atmosphere, you live in it. So let's start here before we go any further. Take a breath, let your shoulders drop, and say this out loud. I am aware of the world I am living in. I am willing to see it clearly, and I am open to something new. Just that, just willingness, that's enough to begin. I want to tell you about a night in Bath when I was about 16. It was around 3 a.m. I was on ecstasy, walking back from Karanga with about 10 people, all of us moving through the orange glow of the streetlights in that particular way you move when the drugs are fully in your system and everything feels connected and significant and alive. I had looked at myself in the mirror earlier that night and felt, for the first time in as long as I could remember, overwhelming self-love. Not performed self-acceptance, not the managed version, real love for the person looking back at me. And I loved the people I was with, all of them, completely and without condition. And walking through Bath at 3 a.m, full of that feeling, I got out in front of the group and turned around and tried to stop everyone. We can have love like this without drugs. I meant it with my whole heart. I wanted everyone to stop and hear it and understand it and feel what I was feeling and know that it was real and available and not dependent on the pills in our systems. My sister came and took me to one side. Liz, that's really sweet, but we're all trying to have a good time and you're ruining our buzz. Later, at my friend's house, I sat next to a beautiful girl I didn't know, and we talked as if we had complete acceptance of one another, like we had known each other forever, like there were no walls, no performance, and no careful management of how we were being received. Just two people fully present, fully open, fully there. And then the sun started coming through the curtains, and as the light changed, something else changed too. The drugs were wearing off, and with them, the atmosphere, the open, connected, everything is love atmosphere that had felt so real and so available all night started to thin. And I felt it going. And sitting next to this girl, this stranger who had been my closest friend all night, I suddenly felt exposed, self-conscious, awkward in a way I hadn't been moments before. We had been so close, and now we were just strangers again. And the distance between those two things, the intimacy of an hour ago and the strangeness of right now, was one of the most awful feelings I have known. Back to reality. That moment taught me something that took years to fully understand. The connection I had been chasing, the love, the openness, the sense of being fully alive and fully present and fully myself was real. It wasn't an illusion created by the drugs. The drugs just removed the atmosphere that was blocking it. The grey, heavy, self-conscious, self-rejecting atmosphere I had been living in. And without that atmosphere, the connection was just there, which meant it was always there, underneath, waiting. The problem was never that connection wasn't available. The problem was the atmosphere I was living in, which was making it inaccessible. The beliefs running quietly in the background, the self-rejection, the fear, the constant low-grade static of a mind that has been practicing certain things for so long, They felt like the weather rather than like choices. Say this now. I am willing to see the atmosphere I have been living in, not with judgment, with clarity. What I can see, I can change. What I can name, I can move through. I am willing to look clearly. Then this. The connection I am looking for is not somewhere else. It is not dependent on circumstances or substances or the right conditions. It is here beneath the atmosphere I have been practicing, and I can access it now from the inside. And this. I am not a victim of my atmosphere. I created it unconsciously over time from beliefs I didn't choose, and I can change it consciously over time with beliefs I do choose. I begin now. I spent years chasing that feeling, the connection, the self-love, the openness, and I spent years coming down from it, back into the grey, back into the self-consciousness, back into the world that felt heavy and difficult and small. I watched my mum calm herself with cannabis when I was growing up, and I associated it with something spiritual, with connection to creative intelligence, with the easing of a reality that felt overwhelming. The big school, the big world, the big feelings I didn't know what to do with. Drugs gave me a sense of control over my reality, a sense of connection to something larger. But the connection never lasted because I was finding it outside myself rather than inside. And anything you find outside yourself can be taken away. The drugs wore off, the morning came, the stranger was a stranger again. At 15, it was speed and ecstasy. The highs were extraordinary. The disconnection of sobering up and returning to the difficult reality of being a teenager, with all my secret self-rejection and fear and buried sexuality, and the voices that said I was too much and not enough, was devastating every time. And I moved through highs and lows for years, even into recovery, even after I'd put the substances down, because the highs and lows weren't really about the drugs. They were about the atmosphere. I was still living on the surface, still trying to access something real through something external, still not connected, consistently, consciously, deeply, to the source that had been available all along. I was spiritually bankrupt, functioning. I could work, pay rent, do the things society requires, but I was empty underneath. The creative energy had always been shining through. It had always kept me going, but I would doubt it, fall back into the small eating away beliefs, back into the grey. Say this. I am done living on the surface. I am done chasing connection outside myself. The source I have been looking for is within me, consistent, conscious, deep. I connect to it now, not through anything external, through the practice of returning to what is real. Then this. The creative energy has always been shining through me, even in the darkest periods. Even when I doubted it, it never left. I am the one who kept turning away, and now I turn back, for good, consciously, on purpose. I want to tell you about the moment everything changed. I had returned from Morocco at what turned out to be my absolute all-time low. Lonely, isolated, not having processed any of the feelings and upsets that had been building for years. I came home and I exploded emotionally, messily, and devastatingly on my mum and my younger siblings. And I felt so miserable I could barely stand myself. My dad heard what a mess I was, and my dad was in recovery. He phoned me. Are you ready? And I surrendered, just like that. Not dramatically, quietly, the way you surrender when you have simply run out of road, when the running has taken everything and there is nothing left to run with. I was ready, finally, completely, without reservation, ready. And that's when I got into recovery. I started going to meetings, and I was on an emotional and spiritual rock bottom. 10 years after the psychosis in Thailand, years of highs and lows and surface living and spiritual bankruptcy, when I heard a woman sharing and a penny dropped. I cannot remember what she said, but something in it landed, and then the 12 steps were read, as they are read at every meeting, and I heard step 11 as if for the first time. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us, and the power to carry that out. And something leapt in me. Not God as a he, not God as a religious concept, God as the power, as creative intelligence, as the thing I had been catching glimpses of my whole life, in the orange glow of the streetlights at 3 a.m., in the mirror at the club, in the eyes of the stranger at sunrise who had felt like my closest friend, and then losing again because I was looking for it outside rather than inside. That's creative intelligence. That's the power that runs through everything. And the idea, the extraordinary, almost unbearably exciting idea of having a conscious relationship with that power, of improving that contact deliberately, daily through prayer and meditation, of asking not for what I wanted, but for the knowledge of its direction and the power to follow it. That is what I had been missing, not the connection. I had always known the connection was real, but the conscious connection, daily, practiced, intimate, committed, that was what I had been missing. I didn't literally leap out of my seat, but I wanted to. Say this now. I seek conscious contact with creative intelligence daily. I do not leave this relationship to chance. I tend it, I return to it, I improve it. This is the most important relationship in my life, the one with the intelligence that moves through everything, including me. Then this. I pray only for knowledge of its direction and the power to follow it, not for what I think I want, for what creative intelligence knows I am here to do. I trust that direction, I follow it, I give my life to it. And this conscious contact is the atmosphere I choose to live in, not the grey, not the surface, the deep, connected, fully alive atmosphere of someone who knows what they are part of. I choose this daily for the rest of my life. Now let me be honest about what gets in the way of living in this atmosphere. The world is loud, the news is constant, the fear is everywhere, in the headlines, in the conversations, in the scroll, and it is very easy, without even noticing, to let that fear become the atmosphere you are breathing. I have a boundary around this. I don't consume news in the way most people do. Not because I don't care about the world, I care deeply, but I cannot stop the wars by getting fearful and angry. I can dream a new world into being by living in union with creative intelligence. There is a big job ahead of us collectively, and I must be able to follow the direction of my higher power, creative intelligence. Otherwise, I will run around like a headless chicken, and that is not a place of power. When I absorb fear, I lose my ability to be of genuine service. I become part of the frequency I am trying to change, rather than bringing something different to it. Peace is not passive. Peace is the most powerful thing I can bring to a world that is drowning in its opposite. So I choose what I amplify. I choose what I let into the atmosphere I am building. Not perfectly, I am human. I live in this fear-based reality with the rest of you, but consciously, deliberately, with the understanding that what I focus on, I strengthen, and what I strengthen becomes my world. Say this. I choose what I amplify. I choose what I let into my atmosphere. I choose not to consume fear and call it being informed. I stay conscious of what I am feeding my mind, and I feed it truth, beauty, connection, and creative intelligence. Then this. I cannot stop the wars by getting fearful and angry. I can dream a new world into being by living in union with creative intelligence. That is my contribution. That is my power. I use it deliberately. And this. Peace is not passive. Peace is the most powerful frequency I can bring to a world that needs it. I am a steady presence. I am an anchored presence. I bring something different into every room I enter. I choose this now. So let me ask you, what are you living in right now? What is the emotional tone of your day, the baseline you return to when nothing in particular is happening? Is it open or closed, light or heavy, connected or surface? Because that quiet default setting, the one you have been practicing so long, it feels like just the way things are, is the world you are actually experiencing. And here is the beautiful part. You can change it, not by forcing yourself into relentless positivity, not by pretending everything is fine, but by gently, consistently choosing a different inner environment, the way I do every morning with my coffee and my Ernest Holmes and the light pouring into my body. By returning again and again to what is real. Say this slowly. I live in a supportive world. Life is working with me, responding to me, meeting me where I am, and inviting me into more. I move through life with ease. I release the belief that things must be hard. My energy is clear and open. I am not carrying old weight. I am not living in the past. I am here now, open and available for good. Then this. I expect good things. I look for what is working. I notice what is opening. I visualize my life unfolding well. I am no longer rehearsing problems. I am rehearsing possibilities. I am rehearsing a life that feels good to live. And finally, my thoughts support me. My thoughts create my reality, and I choose them with care, with awareness, with intention. I am no longer living by default. I am living by design. This is the world I live in, and I choose to make it beautiful. Not because life suddenly became different, because you did. If you would like to download a free copy of this book, go to my website, lizzieallan.com, and find How to Save the World and download your free copy there. Don't forget to subscribe or follow, leave us a comment, share your experiences, and share with your friends, because this is a group effort. I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm out.